Hello, everybody, all the people who are here. Welcome to my live stream, our live stream. I don't know which way to say it. I've been saying mine internally. I'm Rob Whitaker. I'm a developer and director of software development at ThoughtBot. And today we're going to be working on a Rails application, my first ever proper Rails application, trying to bring it up to date with modern practices. And I've had some help from Jose and Sammy over previous weeks. And today I'm joined by Silumesi. Silumesi, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Silumesi. I am a developer at ThoughtBot, and yeah, it's looking forward to the live stream. It's fun. It's cool to be here.
Nice, yeah. I think me and Silumesi pair a lot, and so I think it's going to follow a similar style to that, and just have some chats about stuff, and kind of enjoy working together more than concentrating on actually getting something done. Just kind of have a chat. Somebody has put already. We have our first question. Just let me show. I'll show it is. Registered said streaming at this hour. So we're I'm based in the UK, and so I'll let someone message decide whether he wants to reveal where he is in the world for SecOps. But it's quarter to 11 in the morning where I am. I think it's a reasonable time of day.
It's almost noon for me, so yeah, it's a good time. I'm currently in Zambia.
So, what this is let me share my screen. I want to click this button. So that's my Trello board. But if I go to, let's show you the staging app. So this is the app runs on Heroku, so it takes some time for the dynos to spin up. This is a website that I built for my friend's mum. She used to sell jams at farmers market, and she wanted some way of selling them online. And I was just kind of learning Rails and followed a book called Agile Web Development with Rails. And I think when I was speaking to Sammy last week, we figured out it was Rails 3, the book. And so I suggested an e-commerce app I built following that tutorial. You add something to the basket, you check it out, you come here, you put customer example.com, customer Testerton, and then get one password to work. You could not get Apple ID is not going to work today. Cool. One password's not going to. Oh, it's going to work. Use my Stripe testing card. Place my order there, and I'll have an email somewhere about that. And then you can view the orders in here. This will be the order I've just placed. We fixed a bug in here last week, which was interesting. And also you can have products in here. There's a thing with the products where there's no way to set a price, but that's on the backlog somewhere. Events, so there were places where people could go and actually pick these things up in real life. Okay, so and at the same time, I've been following Suspenders and trying to get up to date with the things that have slowly been built into Suspenders, which is kind of our template for default apps. And so I've been breaking the commits down into cards.
Okay.
And so we have the next kind of thing that I was going to do was this commit from Suspenders, which is at some point, I didn't even know that was there. That should already, I've not even got my automatic deployment set up, so maybe that's interesting to look at. What was that doing? Okay, so at the moment, in the setup script, when I deploy, it runs the migrations and then restarts the dyno. And then we also do this for when we set up the review apps. But
nice.
My applications are old that at some point in the past, these things called proc files were introduced, which we all take for granted nowadays.
Yeah.
And so if we could set, and Heroku has a release phase that runs at the end of so it deploys the code and then it runs a release phase, and you can give it a script to run, which will do the migration for us. So it just kind of works with the ecosystem more. And to get that to work, you add a environment variable.
Okay.
So, Messi, have you done this type of thing before?
No. So I've used Heroku quite a bit, but not. It looks like this was before. Looks like it's a few versions before the one that I'm currently been experimenting with on Upcase. So this will be very, very interesting. Yeah.
Because I think it'd be quite cool because I don't want to just have you, because it's quite a step-by-step thing. I think it'd be, and I think I've done something similar in the past, whether you take control of my machine a bit more, if you'd be happy with that.
Problem. Yeah.
I do have Visual Studio Code on here nowadays, but I've not set it up yet. But I've still got Vim on here. So what would you prefer?
Let's do VS Code. Actually, depending on how I'm not too familiar with the Vim bindings, but it might be interesting. Okay. Let's start in VS Code.
Folks in the chat, can you is this legible? Can you see what the words on my screen? I'll let people respond. In the meantime, I will get this open. I always like to make sure to check my branches are up to date. Okay, everything looks fine. So let's do code doc. This is the first time that I've opened VS Code on this machine. Oh, look at that. Do you trust the authors? Yeah, I trust them.
I don't.
Oh, no. Choose your theme. Can I just exit this?
You can use let's use the default. Let me see if I can get your mouse here. Yeah, this is perfect.
Yeah, go for it. So
let's have a look. Just getting a sense of where.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I'll be able to work. Yep.
Okay, so I think the first step is that I think if we're working backwards, we want to create this script first. So maybe if I just put this here and then,
Templates auto migrate.
Well, so this thing is, this is a suspenders script, and so what it will do is, it doesn't actually say where it's going to go. It will go here. Yeah. It'll go to
bin auto migrate. Nice. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if that might be a bug in this previous version of suspenders, but yeah, the script would go in bin auto migrate.
Okay. Nice. Do we want to set our timer?
Yes, let me do that. I'm just going to mute myself while I talk to Siri.
Okay.
Sorry, I stole your mouse to unmute myself. So what Messi was referring to there in terms of the timer is normally when we pair, well, me and Messi pair, we try to do, I'll put 2 hours on the calendar, and then we'll do a 25-minute pairing, 5-minute break, 25 minutes pairing, 10 minutes break, 25 minutes pairing, 5 minutes break, 25 minutes pairing, and then we would usually swap between those in those intervals. just so that it gives each person a chance to be a driver and each person a chance to be a navigator as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have the bridge.
Thank you very much. I find the swapping kind of gets me like almost exercises different parts of my brain, so it makes the pairings that bit more fulfilling.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think that's it. It's about keeping people engaged. And the last 2 times we've done this, I felt like I was dominating the keyboard a bit too much, but it's just kind of the way that the stream's set up in terms of we have to have one person hosting and one person not.
Right. What should I call this branch? I'm guessing migrate? Deployment.
Yeah, so I like to start I don't know if you've noticed this. I like to start my commit messages with specific verbs. And so I get my branches to match that. And so I would use make auto migrate here. And I can explain those verbs if you would like.
Please, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to let you type that and then I will show you.
Okay.
So let me get the bridge. I have the bridge. GitHub commit message. Git commit message. So I found this somewhere a long time ago. Let me put a link in the chat as well.
Nice.
And so it's just kind of a nice way to think about, especially if you're creating your branch first, to think about what the definition of done is going to be for the thing you're doing. So like add is adding a feature, drop, deleting a feature, fix is for bugs, bump is just for like it says here, like a bump in a gem or something like that. But then here, we're changing the build process tools or infrastructure. So that's where I've gone for make.
Okay.
Because we're adding in something that's not really part of the app. It's around like deployment and things like that. But then you also have things in here for feature flags, things like optimization, and then documentation, and then refactors, reformatting. So this is a really good source that I like to kind of keep me honest. Another interesting thing about add and drop, somebody called Tekken, who I co-organized the Northwest Ruby user group with, did a talk at Brighton Ruby, maybe like 2019. I think it was pre-pandemic, and he said, like, you can use the red and green in your pull request to determine if it is actually an add or a drop. Like if you're doing an add and it's got lots of red in it, is it really an add? And is there maybe a refactor stuck in there somewhere?
Nice.
So it's kind of interesting that you can use like visual cues to kind of point you in that direction. But that's the long way of saying, let's call it the branch something to do with make.
Nice. Who's the author of this this piece of
it's
code?
Somebody called
this repository?
Joel Parker Henderson. I put a link in the chat on YouTube and Twitch. We may just be having some connectivity issues with Solomesi, but we're back. Your internet drops a little bit then, Solomesi. It's fine.
Awesome.
I think you're back. Yep.
Okay, am I back? Sorry.
Yes, you are back.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
So yes, so I think the next step is to create this auto migrate script.
How do I switch over tabs? Or if we were in
what are you looking for?
Trello.
Why are you trying to go into my mail, my confidential mail?
Sorry, I was looking for where we were getting the. Oh, it was in Safari.
In Safari, yeah.
Safari. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
There we go.
So it's the first tab in there, and I can take you to if you want. I think it's the second tab.
This one, yes. No,
almost
this one.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I want to touch.
Yeah.
Do I need to run a setup script, or are we okay for the things that need to be in here?
It's all set up. Just because
Nice.
it's been, I tend to run my setup quite, instead of bundling, sometimes I run the setup script because I just find it's a way to make sure that everything's up to date and make sure it runs
Nice.
idempotently.
Yeah, I do the same. And I was actually wondering with myself if that's an efficient way to do it, but it feels like the right way to have everything, as you're saying, set up the way it should be.
I just think it's a good touchstone of like, oh, I wonder if somebody's made a change to the setup script at this point as well. And it'll run migrations and things like that usually.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Yeah, cool.
So
the
before
setup,
we just
yeah,
go
ahead.
on. Can I ask you a question?
So it's just so suspenders is giving us the template, and I'm assuming that the contents of the auto migrate would be this.
Yes.
But I was going to ask if this needs to be a shell script. I think that was what my question was going to be.
Yes, it will be a shell script.
Okay.
Yes. Why do you ask?
Because of the heading up here.
Because you were, yeah, okay.
That's right, yeah.
So in suspenders, I don't think it adds that's called a shebang line. I don't know why it's called a shebang line. If anybody in the comments knows, please feel free to tell us why it's called a shebang line. But the shebang line tells the shell what language the contents of the file is. So you're saying you want it to be, I don't know what you want it to be, bash shell. I think, but the reason it doesn't have one here because I think that it's just being inferred.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me have a look at. I was going to have a look in one of the projects that we.
Do you want to have a look on your machine?
Yes.
Yep. And I'll just have a look. Let me have a look. I don't think I was going to click through. So that one's a Ruby one. You can see here we've set this one to Ruby because it is Ruby. The deploy job we just set to shell. That one's Ruby, because these are Ruby. We've just been setting to shell. So maybe just use that. I think that makes sense. Yeah. I would copy this line here.
Yeah. Perfect. Right. I remember having a conversation with Nick around which is the how should I phrase this? Almost like the most sustainable way to do this, since people might be using Bash versus Z shell. So I joined ThoughtBot with the habit of using Bash for everything, and then because I guess I was coming from Linux as my development environment, and then moving from that to ZSH. Yeah, I kept putting Bash in here, and he educated me on how possibly using shell creates a more portable shell script. I thought that was useful.
That's interesting. It'd be interesting to know the conversation around that, because I know macOS uses Z shell by default, and it doesn't have a maintained version. It has Bash on there, but I think it's out of date. Yeah. So as you copy and paste this,
yes,
do you understand the script?
Right. So set E will fail the script if there are any errors, and then this line here is going to look for this environment variable. If it finds it, it will execute this command. This command will run the migrate task. And I'm guessing if it doesn't find this, then nothing happens.
Yes, that's my assumption as well. Yeah, so set -E, make sure that when an error happens, it exits out as soon as possible. Yes, it won't continue.
Yeah.
We may need to set up some sort of indenting thing because that's definitely. I don't know. What is the indentation in shell?
Good call.
What have I done in? What have I done in deploy and setup? Just to see what consistency. Well,
looks like we didn't have to indent here.
About the other ones, these are the 2 shell scripts there's a setup and setup review app.
Setup.
Oh, just do 2 spaces.
2 spaces. Okay.
Yeah.
And indent using spaces. How do we change the number? There we go.
Oh, there you go. Nice. Lovely stuff. So Dyson Returns has said in the chat, I'm just going to steal the mouse. That they think SH selects the correct one. It's most compatible for most situations.
Useful to know. I like that. Nice.
Yeah. So yeah. So Dyson has joined us from Vancouver, Canada, which I think is west coast of Canada.
Nice.
How the Canucks doing, Dyson?
Thanks for joining us, Dyson. Hopefully the Canucks are doing well.
Oh, nice. So Messi, in Tuple, can you put it on 2 cursor mode? It just might make things a bit easier because I think I can't control that.
Okay.
Don't know.
I'm hoping that
now we have 2 cursors. I'm yellow cursor. And you're what?
Nice. Yeah. I can only see one, so this will be interesting.
Okay.
I don't see yours, but that's okay.
Okay. Maybe when I click, something will change. So we're using a tool called Tuple to do our remote pairing. It's a really good app. So it allows you to do certain things. Yeah, it's good. So now, if we run this, let's run it, see what happens.
All right. So I'll save this. Sorry, on my local machine, I've set up VS Code to auto-save when I switch focus, so I don't have to save all the time. I'm wondering if that's a sustainable setting, considering not everyone has that on there.
I've got it in Vim, and the reason I've got VS Code is I'm trying to rebuild DHH's Omacub from Mac.
Yes.
And so I know in there's going to be some VS settings. So let me just get a link to that as well. Oh,
sorry, that was me. Go ahead.
I think it's my keyboard's connecting. Yeah. Sure, it's quite interesting. We have a similar thing called laptop, which I use, and so I'm extending that with some new stuff. Just experimented. All right, let's get that back up for you. Let's close that. Go back to this. Scroll down and put. Okay, you have the bridge.
Thank you. So sh bin auto migrate.
And so it did nothing. And why did it do nothing?
Because we haven't had any. Sorry, we're not piping anything out to the user. So let's see. Maybe we can add some. I was going to say puts, but this is shell scripting, so it's print.
Echo.
Echo, nice.
But before you do that, can I suggest that maybe? Well, I'm just going to type something.
Sure.
If I do this.
Oh, nice. Yep.
So that sets the environment variable just for this command.
Yep.
And then now we see, throw some warnings because that's the warnings that come from how things are currently broken, but that will have run the migration. So we could even do Rails DB rollback. So roll back something.
Also migrate.
And that migrated.
Awesome. Nice. I'm guessing we're using this as a true false, or does the value 1 matter?
So with environment variables, it is my understanding, and I'm willing for somebody to give me the correct information if I'm wrong, that any set value is deemed true for an environment variable. So if you have false, that is the string false. Well, I think it might be that all environment variables are strings, maybe. I don't know. That is a bold claim I've made there. So that might be the case. So that, that's my understanding. So yeah, if it's not set, then it's false. If it is set, but I think one is a pretty standard practice I've seen to say this is a true value.
Perfect. Sustainable development with Rails has some useful thoughts around this true false.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What are they?
Talking about how similar to what you described earlier, where if we might set this to the string false, and that would come back as true. So be careful to test. Be careful with booleans. I think the point he was trying to make was do the equals equals. I think was equals equals versus. Hang on, I'm forgetting the principle here. But it was the way that you do the test to test for the trueness and falseness versus the presence of a value, if that makes sense.
Yes,
so having
I think so.
in here, so having false in here would return true for us because there is something set.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and there are things like, so if you just remove the echo that you've put in, I have a tool on here, and I don't know if set it. Let me just check. I'm just going to go into the terminal. There's a tool called shell check, which I do have installed. So you can do shell check bin auto migrate, and it's a linter for
nice.
And so there's no issues with this according to shell check, but it's good to run. I sometimes run it in CI against some of my scripts that I have, just to check for like stuff that might work in Bash that won't work in Shell and things like that.
That's right. I like that. I think during the discussion I had with Nick about SH versus ZSH versus Bash, that he helped me set this up because I do have this as almost like an auto linter in my VS Code.
Okay. Yeah, nice. I've got it. Mine auto runs for Vim as well.
Nice.
Yep. Okay. So now we have our script. And so what we need to do now.
Sorry, would you like us to echo anything?
I'm happy just to leave it as is, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
Let me ask this question. What would you echo?
I'm not sure. Just to give some kind of feedback to say this is the step that we're going to be running, but I guess it depends on where this is going to be used. If it's going to be on the Heroku side, we might not need to see that because this part here is going to give us some feedback.
Yes. Yes, that'll give. Yeah, we'll see it migrating or not, or at least trying to migrate. So the next step is to, if we scroll up here, so Suspenders uses generators and to move some things around. So it looks like back in 2019. We changed the Circle CI config to no longer deploy staging when you merge master, which is interesting because I wonder if I've set mine up to do that, and then staging, but instead we get auto migrate. So if you open up so let's first have a look at the Circle YAML to see what's currently in there. I don't think it's got that, if I remember correctly. Our timer went off, by the way, Sulemesi, if you're happy to continue.
I think for the sake, in a sense, for consistency, we can take a break.
Okay, so we're going to have a quick 5-minute break, and we'll come back at 20 past the hour. So see you folks in 5 minutes. Go get yourself away from your screen for 5 minutes. Go grab a drink or something. That's for everybody, not just for Sulemesi. Right. See you in a bit. Hello again.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. That's interesting. Okay, so we're back. We've had a break. We had this, and we're here. Lovely. So where we're at, we were going to check the circle config, the circle CI config, to see, just to see if we need to delete anything to be in line with suspenders, because that's kind of what I'm aiming for with this project. So, do you want to try and find the circle config?
Sounds perfect. Sounds good. Is our timer good for this next one?
I'm going to play it by ear, I think, just because it's slightly different being on the stream than in real life.
Okay,
just
that's
because I
fair.
think we could have too many. So maybe we'll go for an hour, see how we feel, and then maybe have a quick break and then finish off with a half an hour.
Thanks. Okay. So I'm looking for Circle CI. I don't think I found it. Circle.
So it's the file structure has changed over the last 5 years. So it's called config.yaml in the Circle CI directory. It's that second result down.
Ah, got it.
So in here, we install ImageMagick, we set up Postgres, we set up the environment, we precompile the assets, and then we run the test suite. And that is the flow. So we don't have anything about deployment in here, as far as I'm aware. Maybe scroll down a bit. Yeah. So I'm happy that I've got rid of that at some point in the past. I don't know when, but I'm pretty sure I know it doesn't auto deploy. Maybe it should auto deploy. Yeah. So what we need to add now, so we could ignore the Circle CI because we don't need to make any changes. So what I was looking at is these lines of deletion. I've deleted it at some point in the past, it looks like. So what we want to do is we want to append to the proc file this line. So I'll let you have a go. I just need to take the mouse just to take the banner off because it says we're going to be back in 5. Okay. Yeah.
Got it. I'm just trying to see if I understand. So the append file is going to, this is part of the configuration, it's going to append to the proc file. Is that right?
Yes. I think it comes with Thor, maybe. It's whatever the Rails generators use underneath. So append file comes from the tools that for the generators, and so it finds the proc file and then appends that line to the file.
Got it. Okay. Oops. Okay, there we go.
Just write it out, so messy.
Sorry, I think there's a bit of lag on my end, but
okay.
1 moment.
No worries.
Okay, I think we're good. So if I'm following along correctly, I need to, what are we doing here? So it's app builder, append file, proc file. So the append file will append to the proc file. So on this end, am I editing the proc file directly?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Got
yeah. It can be confusing because within the source that we're looking at isn't the Rails app; it's the thing that generates the Rails app.
Right.
So we have to translate it. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
So you do still need that first bit of you need the release colon.
The release. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's for my web process. So the proc file says for my web process, run this command. For my worker process, run this command, and for my release process, run this command. And the release process is something that's part of the Heroku deployment. At the end of its release, it then runs a release process. And so we're saying to Heroku, okay, when we deploy, run bin auto migrate. But at the same time, so the reason behind the the reason behind the environment variable, and I bet if we looked at the commit message, we could see this, is that when we run this locally, whether we don't have a bin dev, but when you run this proc file locally, you don't want that release phase to constantly be deploying.
Right.
So if you don't have the environment variable set locally, it won't run. If you have it set on your servers, then it will run, which is what we want.
Perfect.
Okay, so we have our script. We have our proc file that will run our script at the appropriate time. So if you did Heroku local now, because we're in the past, we're in 2019, bin dev doesn't exist yet as a concept, really. We're still doing Heroku local. So if you do Heroku local, that will run that proc file.
Right.
He says.
I'm assuming we need to make this executable, or will the Heroku command know?
Let's find out. It's one of my favorite things about this is let's just run it and see what it does. And then
nice.
So there's our web and our workers booting up. You can see the different colors. And maybe it doesn't run the release. It doesn't seem to be, does it? Can we go up in the I don't know, maybe Heroku local does something to what I expect. So maybe it only runs certain processes. So maybe it's not something we don't have to worry about. But we can find out if it works once we get to the review apps.
Okay.
I think that'd be, okay. So the next step is we need to do some tidy up. So there are two scripts that run against Heroku. The first script is called, right, I just need to stash some stuff here because it's, I'm going to have to change that now. Stash this chunk. Yep. No. Yep. Okay. Okay. I just had some stuff that was going to get in the way. So let me make a note. Rotate your development stripe keys. Okay, because I just showed them on the stream, so that's good. So what we need to do now is there are two scripts that we run against Heroku. One's called bin deploy, and one's called bin setup review app. So if we have a look at bin deploy, which you actually have in a tab on the left-hand side, you have the two lines at the bottom.
Right.
Which we no longer need because they'll be done automatically by Heroku now. We can just delete them. Git will comment them out for us. Git's our friend, okay? And then the other script is setup review app. So if deploy we run to deploy to the sandbox, the staging and the production environments. And then this, we have a little script to make sure we have the data we need for setting up our review apps. So once it's deployed to Heroku, we then run this script. It takes a backup of the staging database and restores it into the review app environment. But on line 20, after the restore, it then does the migration. But our auto migrate is going to handle that for us, so we can get rid of that. So now we have a consistent way of running that script.
And when you say consistent, it's going to be the same on local as it is in
It'll be the same in review app and staging, because they'll both run the bin auto migrate script. Okay, so that I think is everything. Let me just have a look at what we've got on the left-hand side. So we've added it to our proc file. We can ignore this manifest generator for now, because I don't think that works anymore. We've added our bin auto migrate, we've changed our deploy script, and we've changed our setup review app script. So now let's commit, start putting a pull request together.
Nice. All right, so let's do a git add status. All right.
So what does git add minus n do, Salamesi? That's something that we don't see very often.
Right. So we have an untracked file, and I like to use git add patch just to review what's going to be going into the commit. In the past, when I use git add patch, since Git doesn't yet know about this untracked file, I would typically miss it. So git add -n will add new files into what we call this staging for commits, so that we can review it as we're doing our git add patch.
Yeah, it kind of says, yeah, that's right. It says, here's the file, but I want to track the file, but not necessarily track the contents yet, which is the next decision you're going to make, isn't it? Yeah. I think it's short for intent. Yeah.
Oh, really? I did not know that. That's good. That's useful to know.
I intend to add this file.
Nice. Nice. Git knows about my intentions. That's awesome. Okay, yes, we do want to add the release auto migrate. So this is bugging me, the permissions on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how to test that without running, what's it called? Test that the permissions are correct. How might we do that?
If you Control-C out of this,
yeah.
If you just type bin/auto migrate, what happens?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it hasn't got, so you can, yeah, so it's not executable. So if you do chmod +x.
Nice.
Can you just do, if you do that and then do ls bin, I wonder what the other ones are set up as. Yeah, I'm guessing by the color. Maybe we do ls -l. Or yeah, that'll do. Yeah.
Where is it? Bin.
If you just, okay. Yeah, they've all got X's on, so
yeah,
that matches the other ones.
All right, so yes, happy with this now. Yes, this is our new file, and we don't need to do any echoing. Yes, we are now consistent with suspenders, so we've removed the 2 lines. And yes, we've removed that 1 line. Okay, this looks good to me.
Cool. You're about to become only the third person to contribute to have a commit, and then oh no, you're on my machine. You won't even have the commit.
No, I won't. That's fine. That's fine. What's this? Okay, this is Vim. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I'm trying to see if we can make more space for you. If I bring this up there.
Thank you. So,
and you can see in Vim, I've got it set up so it gives you a template of how I like to write my commit messages.
Oh, very nice.
Nice.
Okay. So I'm guessing using your branch naming convention that make auto migrate would be an appropriate title.
Maybe make Heroku auto migrate, and if it fits on deploy, this should fit. I think that's less than 50 characters. Yeah, that's 35 characters.
Nice. Do you want to add any further description, or is the title sufficient?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, so normally I go for a structure of before it used to do this thing, which was a problem because now we made it do this thing. Yeah, so I'd go before we were migrating the database by hand.
Okay.
In more than one location. Full stop. It should go to the new space. This opened us up to potential inconsistencies. we made use of Heroku's release phase to always run the same migration script. That sounds about right for what we did.
Nice.
Okay.
Opened. Why doesn't it like opened? Open and
Because
open.
you've got
That's
open
why
and
it doesn't
edited.
like it. Okay.
In Vim, I found out this the other day. I think it's if you do right square bracket, and so if you press, sorry, not right, left square bracket and then S, it takes you to the next spelling mistake.
Oh
no, you're in insert mode.
Yeah. So right S. Okay.
There.
Heroku's.
Because it doesn't know the word Heroku.
Okay, so we're good.
Yeah. So now let's add a. So if you below that, can you put a link to a Trello card?
Yes. Which Trello card?
It's open and yeah, it's in there. Yeah. So if you go down to share at the bottom, there's a short URL. It'll give you the very bottom. Yeah.
Nice.
And here you have a short URL you can use.
Oh, nice. I always grab the URL from the header. That's useful to know.
It's the same, but the last argument on the Trello card is just a slug you can get rid of. It ignores it. You just have the identifier. So can you put so just for my own pernicketiness, like square brackets and then Trello, yeah, like that. So it renders nicely later. Yeah. You need it, yep. And then don't forget you're co-authored by at the bottom.
You're too kind. All right.
Well, I've just sat here. I've not done anything. I've just been chatting in the background. Yeah. Okay. Looks good to me.
Right. Looks good to me too.
Right, quick. Let's push that up. And then on here, I have the GitHub CLI. So if you do GitHub PR create. So it's GH, sorry, then PR space create.
Yeah.
George is here. George Cosmopoulos used to work at Builtbot.
Hey, George.
I think that's the first time I tried to say George's surname out loud. I hope I got it right. Okay. I just SecOpsed him as well. Now everybody knows his last name. So yeah, if you GHPR create and press enter. And so similarly to how I have certain verbs I like to start commit messages with, I also have certain emojis that I like to use for commit messages. Not for commit messages, for pull requests, because somebody pointed out that some of these emojis break terminals because they've got multi-byte characters, and so it makes something. So I was asked by a former Thoughtbotter not to do that, but they still work in PRs. So I'd like to use a wrench for these make ones because it feels like it fits with tooling. So then if you want to do that. Oh, I've been using the wrong one. I've been using, oh, cool. Yeah. I've been using, yeah. Did it not do it?
Didn't look like that worked.
Let me try it. Let me try it. That's better. There you go. And then write that, and then copy and paste that, make Heroku auto migrate on deploy.
Got it. Oops, that's not what I intended to do. Oh.
Might just have to type it. I have to go the lazy way and type edit on the lazy way.
Okay. Don't want to go too far. Okay, there we go. Make Heroku auto migrate on deploy.
Lovely stuff. Press enter. And so here, if you press E to launch Vim.
E?
Sorry. we can now, this is going to be the description. So if you press J, capital J, sorry, go up a line. So you're on line 2. If you go up to line 1, and then press capital J, it'll put it on. Shift J, and then again it puts it all on one line, so it's going to render nicely.
Okay, got it.
This might seem labored to some folks because I've just got it in muscle memory, but yeah, if you do it on line 1 again, just do Shift J, just so that line 1 and 2 are on this. You can do it anywhere on there.
Yeah, so Shift J.
So that's all on one line, and then just get rid of lines 4 and 5 because they don't make sense in terms of the pull request description.
Got it. So this is DD.
Yep. You can even do. Oh, you want to keep that? Oh no, you want that one. You want the Trello card. Sorry. If you do U.
I don't know. U.
Yep. I can do it if you want.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just because. And then you can, do it forward. So the bottom and down here, you can. I've written from line 4, delete 2 lines.
Okay.
So now we can go down to continue in browser, and that will have our lovely pull request or compare mode, and we've got this. So we've got a Trello card in there. It's all nice. It's going to render nicely. We have Silomessi's a co-author on the commit, and we have our commit message in here nicely. And at the moment, our tests are running. And so I like to get into this view first because I can now review my changes before I actually create the pull request. But also, because CI is running, I can catch any issues before they actually open the pull request, before I'm asking for people's views on it. And I can kind of go, oh, okay, there's an issue here that I need to resolve. If this is bundled already, then normally this takes a while to bundle, which is good. So I'm looking for. I've just recently. Gone.
I guess we're looking for the auto migrate, but that's going to come a little bit later.
So auto migrate won't run in this stage because this is circle. But when we come to doing the deployment. So yes, I need to do something in super secret on another window because I need to add. And I'm going to add the environment. I need to add the environment variable for the review app, and the review app will be created when we open the pull request. But when I add, I know it seems like you're just going to be adding a 1. I just don't want to show all my secret environment variables on the stream. So I'm just doing it on a separate monitor. Okay, settings. Be careful, because right. Okay. What's it called? Auto _migrate _db, isn't it? I think. Let's have a look. What did we call it? Auto migrate. Let's just copy and paste it. That seems the way. Let's add this value, and we're going to do 1. Right? That's what we agreed on. Let's add that. Okay. We now have that as an environment variable for our Heroku review apps. So we can close this tab now if you want. I'll let you take control from this. Yeah. And so we're here, we're happy with our changes. If we scroll up, we can see that, well, we should have a green tick next to our commit down here, but for some reason it's not updated yet, but we've just seen that it is green. So let's create a pull request.
Click the green button.
So do you want, let's add this pull request to our Trello card. It's all the way in our first tab.
This is Safari. How do I copy?
Yes.
Okay, I guess I'm.
Is there a thing in Chrome to just copy the URL?
I'm used to, what is it? Command L and then Command C.
Oh yeah, you could do the same. It's the same thing.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I couldn't see where the URL.
What I found And a thing I found with Trello recently, if you do Command V now, it will just add that URL as an attachment.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Did that? Oh no.
Oops, that's not it. That's Command V.
There you are.
Oh, very
now
cool.
It's added. And then if you press right angle bracket, it'll move it to the next column. You might have to do it twice. Is that working?
No.
If you press full stop.
Full stop?
Yep, so now it moved it to code review at the top. So this
what
is
does
a nice
full stop do?
Well, full stop is a right angle bracket. So it just moves it to the right on the board. So if you do comma, which is left angle bracket, it moves it left on the board.
Sorry, got it. Angle bracket. Sorry, I was using the square brackets. Thanks.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, it's a nice little shortcut. So if we have a look at let's close all these tabs apart from the first and the last one.
So including the Trello? No,
we'll keep that one. I'll do it. It's fine because it's
okay.
just, let's close that one. Close that one. See, so messy. So I'm going to throw some shade now because I've worked on your machine. This is how you close tabs in browsers. Right. So if we look at, for some reason, I do have an issue at the moment where my deploys aren't kicking off automatically for my review apps. And I don't know what it is. So I have to manually create one.
We might be able to, sorry, is it specifically for your review apps or is it for all of your environments?
Just my review apps. And it's something, I think it is to do with, so my guess is I have this setup that it runs on when the CI passes, but because I'm checking that the CI passes first, no webhooks being sent to kick it off is my guess. So we'll see. So let's create the review app. So this takes a couple of minutes. Sometimes it shows the logs, sometimes it doesn't. But we need to see the logs because in the logs is where we find out if it runs the auto migrate or not.
That's right.
And I hope that this code from 5 years ago works. Otherwise, well, maybe not. Maybe I don't hope that. Maybe we do want to do some spelunking. Yeah. So we have this. And so what can we do while we're waiting for this to show up? What is next on my list? I'm going to pick up the next thing on the list. So also in Trello, if you hit spacebar, it assigns you to the card.
Oh, nice.
So there's lots of cool things. And then I'm just going to add this to my task manager. It's for me to do tomorrow. Okay, look, we've got this exciting one coming up. Bump Ruby to 2.6. Can you imagine?
What are we currently on?
2.5.9.
Okay.
But it's causing problems where I need to hurry up on it because if I go to the pipeline, you can see it here. Yeah. Heroku 20 is deprecated and I'm not going to be able to use Heroku in April. I mean, I should have, if I continue at the right pace, I should be there because I can't upgrade until I'm on Ruby 3. Yeah. So I need to get there. It'll get there eventually.
We had something similar in Upcase. I think we managed to get it to 3.16, but it was close. It was close. It was starting to, Heroku was starting to shout at us quite a bit.
What's Upcase, little Messi? While we're
sorry, Upcase is our it's a training platform, an upskilling platform.
And what is available on Upcase?
Lots of good stuff. So if you're new to TDD, so some really good tutorials, classes almost on that. There's some good ones on Vim as well, and Tmux, which I've used before.
Oh, but how much? But this sounds expensive, Silamesi. How much would it cost me?
We made it open source and free, so not only can you look at the code itself.
In this economy?
Yeah. the generous folks at ThoughtBot.
No, it's a really good resource. My favorite is, which one is my favorite? I think it is let me have a look at the trails. There's one I refer back to quite a bit. And I think it
Trails, yes, that's what they're called, trails.
Is it Clean Code? I think this one that I used to refer back to a lot was this one, Form Objects.
Okay.
Which for folks who like the service layer in their code, this is how we deal with the service layer, these Form Objects. So that's one of my favorites. It's very similar to, I know you're reading sustainable web development with Rails, which I'll show in a second. I just want to while the logs. So we have some logs. So it's installing, it's doing its thing, bundling.
It's using Ruby 2.5.9. Okay.
Oh, that was why were you so inquisitive? What were you thinking about Silamesi then when you were asking about 2.5.9?
No, I just thought the version numbers might have been different.
Or might be, I don't know. I'm doing that off the top of my head.
Okay. Rails 6, nice.
Silamesi is reading this book, which I've also read, but not the updated version.
I haven't read the updated version either. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go. So it's interesting. It kind of it seems to say aligns a lot with how we like to write our Rails apps, which has been very interesting in terms of the approach, in terms of the patterns and things like that. So I think a lot of folks have thought about reading this and finding it useful and helpful. Let me just share some more links. I'm going to have to gather all these links at some point. Let's put that in the chat as well. Where are we at? So it's still bundling. Of course, it's still bundling. Bundling is the thing. And let's see if I can find the XKCD compiling. This is what we're doing right now, but you can replace compiling with bundling. Yeah, this is where we should have had the break while we wait for Heroku to bundle. I think there must be some way for me to cache this. I need to cache it in Circle CI. Let's get any questions in the chat while we're waiting, because I guarantee as soon as somebody asks a question, then the logs will just tick in and we'll be ready. George said happy Friday 16 minutes ago. I wonder if he is still a happy Friday and what is making his Friday happy. I wonder if has Dyson fallen asleep now? I think maybe he has. They have, sorry. That's a good question. So let me show the question. So George asks, have we ever set .git message for the templates on a project? So before, when I said, oh, I've got it so that Git shows me how I like to write my messages, that's a template that sits in, oh, it's actually Git, yeah, Git message, that's right, isn't it? Yeah, actually sits here in there. I'm interested, that's an interesting question. And I don't see, maybe the question would be, why would you want it different on each project? Would you want something unified? And then my second question would be, if you did want something different, how would you do it? Do you just put Git message in the projects directory? I don't know the answer. So
what's the question again? So I think, why do I feel like we might have done this before in a project? So is it just the Git message, or?
So I'm just looking at a couple of questions. So this has started off a little bit of a conversation in the chat. So
Yeah.
the question is, so we have multiple projects that we work on. And so if
Yeah.
you're working on client A and then I'm working on client B, should you be able to set a .git message for client A and have the .commit message? So it'd sit in the project structure instead of in the root.
Right.
So Darren says, doesn't it go in the .git file in the project? Maybe it does. So let's see. Let's find out. So if we put in and do right, great. Okay, so now if I do git commit allow empty .m, oh no, just want to do allow empty. Not in there. Maybe it's in. You can go to global or in a local config, I think. So that's interesting. So what George is saying is if I do git config, git config -l, yeah. So git config -l will tell you, and then it's somewhere in here. I will have set the commit template to .git message. So if I do git config -- local, is it local? Anybody? Commit.template equals yeah, so do like Rob message. And then if I move that .git, the one I just wrote with the, what did I call it? I thought I called it. Oh, I've just created a file. I have no idea where it is. Okay, e.rob message. And then do interesting question. That's something I have to try and find out. But no, we think it's possible. I may have just done my config wrong.
Would it sit in the .git, excuse me, in the .git folder?
I think I've done something wrong because it's not finding, it's still pointing at my root git message.
Right.
I love the little tangent, git config help. Okay. Oh, maybe I need to do set. Well, how do I do local? So I need to do. When writing the new value into the repository, it's written to the repository local, so it does it locally by default. So I just needed to put on here. I don't need to put local. I need to put set. Wrong number of arguments. Okay, that looks better. And then if I do, yeah, that works.
Nice. Okay.
So you can do it. So now we know how to do it. Would you do it? Sure, why not? Go for it. Knock yourself out. Yeah. Yeah, why not? Seems like a nice idea, especially if there's certain things you want to include in there. The main reason we have it in our dot files is kind of a way to just kind of, I think, to keep folks in line with some good practices of writing good commit messages. Darren appreciates that, George.
Happy Friday indeed.
Happy Friday indeed. Okay, so where were we before?
We were looking at
lovingly. So here, did it run? Now, this is a challenge because it said release command declared. This new, so it looks like it did run, but we can't see because we haven't got any migrations, which is interesting. At this point, I'm happy that it didn't break.
Agreed.
So the next step is just kind of going through the deployment process. And here's a question for you, and maybe for everybody as well. Where should you document the deployment process for an application? Because I haven't documented it. It lives in my head.
Mhm.
And I think it might be in our ThoughtBot guides where it comes from in terms of, let's see if it's maybe in Rails, how to deploy a Rails app to Heroku. I think I am doing this, but I don't think this ever mentions anything about review apps in our guides. And this is just going to find code review, product review. Yeah, I don't think so. This whole process that is from Suspenders is based upon some ThoughtBot things that have either implicitly but never written down, which is interesting because I often get asked about people ask me about review apps because we use them on some projects, but there's no mention in our handbook about review apps. There's no mention in our guides about them. The only kind of source is these lines in Suspenders, is where any of our opinion exists, and there's nothing to go with them. So Darren says a link in the project README would be nice. Where would that link go, Darren? I don't know the answer. Maybe like a contributing link or something.
Is there an argument to be made here that the automation is the documentation?
I think yes, maybe, but I still don't think there's anything. So here, if I click this view deployment now, this button, it'll break because there's still will it break? That's interesting. Will it break? I don't think that'll break anymore. I think actually what we've done, no, it will break it. Oh no. Yeah, it's done something. That's not the app I expected. Okay, I don't know. That's interesting. Okay. Okay. As I think about this, we do have something called templates in here. So ThoughtBot have a load of templates for how to write the documentation for different things. So I think
is
maybe
anyone able to see?
Yeah, this is a public repository, and I think that there's a contributing MD, and this is going to have something like maybe going contributing or deploying, or maybe releasing. Yeah, maybe just add to, and add it in there. Maybe that's how I'd do it. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Something for me to think about. Anyway,
George has a spicy take.
I saw that. I'm not even going to put it on the stream. Do not do this. This is bad advice. Always document. Don't leave in a hurry, and just ask for what is appropriate. Okay. So what we need to do now is, and this is undocumented. So Messi, if you want to take control again.
Sure.
In your terminal of choice, which I'm guessing is in VS Code or wherever you want it to be. Okay. In here, you can run a script called setup review app, and setup review app takes a PR number. So setup _ review _ app. Yeah. And that takes the PR number.
Just the number with no hash?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just a number. Yeah. So you just need to find out. It's in the second tab of Safari.
Nice.
Oh, it's actually here. It's fine. It says here. Yeah, 541.
541.
Yeah. So if you press enter now, what this does is I don't think that's true. That is true. One moment while I log out and log back into Heroku.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm logged in. Okay, now we can run our second script. So what this does is, oh, this is going to break. This is going to break. Sorry. I need some stuff in here. That
Okay.
Some changes were made to the Heroku CLI that I haven't committed yet.
Got it.
As part of so yeah. So what this does, this takes a backup of my staging database and then restores it into the review app.
Nice.
And I have broken something, so set up review app. Why? What don't you like? Oh, I know why. Because we changed this stuff at the bottom. So now I need to PT backups. I think I want this line and then get rid of, where am I? Okay, now I'm happy. I probably should just commit this at some point. All it is this is a space in the old world, and they've changed it to a semicolon, and it's broken everything. And they changed this as well. So luckily, I knew what was going to happen. So here it is. It's this made a backup. Now it's restoring that backup. And then so if everything's worked okay, in theory, when we click this button,
yes,
everything will break. Now, why did everything break?
What are we expecting to see here? We're expecting to see a version of the review app.
Yes, we're expecting to see a version of the site, but for some reason, something didn't work. So I think that this didn't finish. Maybe. Release command declared this new release will not be available until the command succeeds. I don't think this command succeeded, and that's why it hasn't finished. It's created the application, but not deployed, but not released the code. So, you know how I said, "Oh, I hope it breaks so we can do some spelunking."
Yes.
So let's see.
Are we able to see the version from the main overview in Heroku?
Look.
Yes, this one. Okay, so okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Okay. So view log. The release failed.
Right. Okay.
So let's ask, why did my Heroku release fail? Because I want to troubleshoot that. Exactly. Fails with no errors or logs. Listen. What I think it might be is, well, no, I don't know what it is. I'm just quickly reading this here. This is interesting. Okay, release phase. Let's see what they say. Specifying release phase tasks. When does the release phase come? Okay, specify the task. Where's an example? Okay, so that's what we've got. We have release to say run bin auto migrate. Okay. When the release command runs, we also run tasks. Release phase, migrate a database schema. So yeah, we've got it to migrate a database schema. Use the Heroku PS command to see a release command. Okay, if the release command fails, it's shut down by the release fails. In this case, the release is not deployed. An email notification is generated in the event of release pan failure. Okay. This is possible for a build to succeed and associated release to fail. This does not clear the build cache, which is what we're seeing.
Okay.
A failed release command usually requires a fix to an app's code. After making unnecessary changes, push the new code to trigger a new release.
Nice.
In some cases, a release failure is unrelated to the app's code. For example, an external service might be unavailable during the release phase. In such occurrences, the release's retry CLI plugin can be used to retry a failed release. We probably will ignore that. Okay, so to check on the status for release, including failed releases and pending releases due to a long-run release, run Heroku releases. So if I do Heroku apps to get the app name, it was 451, wasn't it?
That's right. 541. Yeah.
541. Sorry. Yeah. So I do Heroku releases minus A for app. Give it the app name. Deploy that one. Release command failed. Okay. To see the output of a particular release command. Okay, we're getting there. So if we do releases output, and so it says release number. So what is the release number? Is that 53? I'm guessing.
In our case,
V6.
Yes, I believe it's V6.
Okay, look in here. Down here. We have a stack trace. Lovely stuff. Okay.
Migration is not supported. Please specify the Rails release the migration was written for.
Okay. So what was it? Okay. Your Ruby gems so a system error has occurred. This and all later migrations before. Okay. Directly inherited from active record migration is not supported. Please specify the Rails release the migration was written for. So this is interesting. So it looks like this active record migration was written for Rails 4.2.
Right.
I would guess.
Okay.
So that's interesting. So we might need to upgrade our migrations. Let's find out. I'm trying to migrate. We did this. Okay. So you can add the version to my by running. So let's have a look for that string in our. So let's quit this and do ag. Oh, look at all those. All these that have no version on them. Right, okay. That's quite a lot, isn't it? How many do you reckon there are? $24.
24, okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Here we go. So, what version do you reckon I used? between 2011
2019.
and 2014. Well,
Is
I
that
can see
2011? Okay.
Yeah, some of these are 2000. Wow, some of these are 2000. No, 2011. How many years ago is that? 13 years ago. Wow. Okay. I'm going to guess that these are all 4.2. So if we blindly copy this thing, let's see what happens. So I'm going to say they're 5.1.
Okay.
So that updated all those. So if I do git, I don't want that thing that's in there. Okay. So I'm going to git restore. I've got a .env file that I don't want to be in there. Okay. And then if I do git add -p dbe migrate. Okay. Yep, want that. Yeah, I want that. What could possibly go wrong? I guess we'll find out when we deploy our review app again. But what's going to be interesting is So me and you saw something similar to this on a piece of work we were doing internally, where this change isn't related to the thing we're working on.
Right.
So I'm going to do this to see if it works, and I'm going to pull it out into a separate pull request. That is, this process of directly inheriting is deprecated. We need to update it, and that's what I'm going to do.
Nice.
Okay, so we've got all those, and I'm going to do git check-in -m because I'm not that fussed about it. Is refactor the database migrations. I'm a silly
setup reviewer.
Yeah, because we're in a strange state right now because there was that issue with the setup. Okay, git checkout dot. Okay, git restore staged dot git checkout dot. Okay, that might have been heavy-handed, but I'll come back to it later. Let's do that command. I'm happy that all that's going to have all the things, and I'm going to do check in -m. Okay, I'm happy. I've got it. Git push.
And that will trigger a new release, or not yet?
Yes, it will. It will trigger. So what will happen now is if we come to here, it's creating the review app again.
Perfect. Nice.
So we can wait for that. And while that's doing that, I'm going to fix my deploy script because we're going to need it in a second. And I'm going to use Vim set up review app. And so I know that to be that. And I need okay, I fixed the setup review app. Okay. You can see here that shell check is kicking in and saying don't use it.
Yep.
But that's a problem for future, Rob. Okay, let's tidy up. So we've solved that problem. I wonder if it should be the version we're on. I wonder if there's some documentation around this.
I guess we'll be finding out shortly. Remind me if I'm following along. Excuse me.
Go for it.
Did you say earlier that you had to manually create a review app?
For some reason, yes, I did.
But this one did it automatically?
So I think the first time, there's something at the moment that isn't kicking off the initial kick to create the first one.
Okay.
But now that it's created the first one, because it got assigned when I manually created it, and it's now watching the repo, or it's getting at least getting a webhook from GitHub to fire it off.
I see. Okay.
Yes. So while that's running, let's see if so I wonder if there's anything in the class active migration. The migration, you can check I want to know why this was introduced. Then maybe it's this compatibility thing. So maybe we should have set it to 4. Yeah. So it looks like it's something to do with it's compatible with certain versions.
I see.
Interesting. Okay. I'm happy with what we've put. Maybe it's inaccurate. Maybe we shouldn't put that. Maybe we should have. How do I migrate Rails migrations? Rails 4.2. When did Rails 4.2 come out? Migration.
Rails 3 was MERB. Rails 4. I'm guessing 2014-ish.
I think that would make sense. I always like to look on Fast Ruby for this sort of thing. Let's see what they say if I if I go to upgrade, so they're covering.
Sorry, what am I doing? Okay. Sorry, I thought I was tapping into your
It's fine.
machine.
Okay, I'm doing a lot of clicking around here. The 14 people watching. That's the current set. A guide for upgrading Ruby on Rails, 4.2. Is there anything about migrations in here?
Oh, Rails 4.2. (2014) release candidate 3, Rails 4.2, December 2014.
Right, I'm going to ask ChatGPT. Sorry. I think it's going to give me the answer. Why do we put square brackets on the end of migrations of Rails database migrations? Will ChatGPT be correct? In Rails, square brackets are used at the end of a database migration to pass arguments to the migration class. Specifically, they are often used when creating a migration using the Rails command line, allowing you to specify details such as the table name, for example. I don't think that's...
No.
Okay, here it is. The 6.1 part in the migration.
There we go. Yep.
Comes into play. Rails version. The number inside the bracket specifies the version of Rails that this migration is targeting. For instance, 6.1 indicates that this migration is written for Rails 6.1. This versioning helps Rails manage migrations and ensures compatibility with changes in how migrations are handled across different versions of Rails. Okay. So, what version of Rails introduced this syntax? Rails 5, okay.
So 5.1 would be good.
So the following question is, what do we do about migrations generated before Rails 5.0? This is what I thought: you shouldn't change old migrations. Interesting. We'll see if it breaks. So, but how would you know which version it's generated with? Let's have a look at some of these ones. Let's have a look at this one.
That's if it's before Rails 5.
Yes. Oh, this one is generated with. Oh, it is now because I put 5.1.
It is now.
Before, yeah. There's no comments or anything in there to suggest that. Okay. Yeah, I guess you'd have to figure out what version of Rails I'd be using for those timestamps.
Right.
And set it. If we have a look at Rails, I love that they've gone down a tangent here.
Yeah.
Okay. Active record migration. So if we have a look at active record migration, so there's a method called square on it. Okay. What's that do? And so that goes to there's some class called compatibility. So let's have a look at that compatibility class. Okay. So I think that unless we should be setting them to 4.2.
Right.
So let's see if that. What we can do. This is because we've gone down a tangent. Is that it deployed? and it built correctly. We can see that now. The run scripts, this was the release phase that failed last time. So what we'll do is let's run our deploy script. Do you want to run the setup review app script for 5.4.1?
Let's do that. Yep. So it's been set up. Review app. Yep.
And it's 5. You need to give
it
the
5.4.1.
5.4.1. Yeah. Because I can't remember if it ran correctly or not last time, so let's just run it again.
I don't remember seeing any errors, but I guess we didn't go through the full.
Yeah, so one thing as well that's interesting is that we'll go back and look at the outputs actually once this is done, because at least now we know it was running our script because it broke. So that's good. It's kind of like TDD. We had a failure and then we made it green. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. At this stage, if we clicked the, what was it? Review deploy in GitHub, would we? Okay, so this is done. It doesn't look like anything failed.
Yeah, so yeah, go on. You click it, you go for it. So if you click view deployment.
So view deployment. Rejoice.
Are we
missing assets?
No, the asset exists in AWS, but it's pointing to the wrong bucket, and I haven't because the assets are stored in the staging database, or the references are stored in the staging database. So I need to figure out a way to get that working because this is using staging data. So I'm just gonna take it to the flow. So we add it.
Yeah.
Check it out. Oh, I'm signed into. You can do it because as long as do you want to do it, and then I'll just put the Stripe card in, and then you can do the rest. Go on, feel free. Apparently, it's in set for New York. Don't spam my personal email address, folks.
So this will actually send an email. So if I do user@example.com.
Well, so I always use example.com because it's a protected domain. So it won't actually go anywhere. So don't never use test.com or anything like that, because test.com is someone's actual domain.
It's someone's, right.
And like you said, you want to, you said always going to be sending an actual email. We use a gem called recipient interceptor. So no matter what email address no matter what email address you put in, it goes to my email account, which is a nice way to handle things.
Nice. Name, address.
One of the things, while you're doing that, I'm just going to steal focus just to click this. Okay, now you can have focus back. So just as George was leaving, he said that maybe old apps need Rails DB schema load for legacy app deploys. And this is, you can keep typing if you want, so let me see what I'm talking about this. So one of the things is I've remembered this conversation for at least 10 years, where it's a case of, do we need to keep all the old migrations? Like, when do you ever run the migrations front to back, especially like ones that are 13 years old? Like, do you have a time limit on them and just keep the ones for the last 3 months, and then, or whatever period of time, and just schema load the rest? In theory, I think we should schema load. Have I ever done it in practice? I have not. I think you should keep like a certain amount of history. But when do you ever have to go?
How much history is enough history?
I don't know. I'd probably go with. I'd probably start by going, okay, what have we got that's older than 10 years? Okay, what have we got that's older than 5 years, and start kind of reducing it that way, and go and then say, like, let's review it again in 3 months. Okay, let's change the time limit. Nothing came up, and the commits as well. The migrations will still be in your Git history,
right?
If you wanted to undo that decision. But yeah, I've never seen anybody come out with a strong argument either way beyond that's the way that Rails does it out of the box. We keep the migrations. it's sacrosanct that you keep every single migration you ever run over the last 13 years. So yeah, it's a great question. I have no answer for it, and I think it depends. As is most things in software development, it depends. But if someone in the chat or anywhere has a stronger argument, I'd love to hear it. So now that the review app works as expected, apart from the assets, which I haven't figured out how to get them to render correctly when using staging data. But the thing I spoke about is in here, this pull request, which was about making Heroku auto-migrate and deploy, now contains all these things that aren't really related. They're like a side effect.
Yep.
And so what I'd be tempted here is to pull these out into a separate pull request documenting that, and we change them to 4.2 as well.
Right. I would be in agreement with that. I think it would be clearer for. I'm not sure if your practice is to have code review on this particular project, but it feels like this is adding extra noise unrelated to the commit, as you've described.
Yeah, I think it is that making it easier for people to code review it. Darren, who's in the chat, I think is the same Darren who was at Northwest Ruby user group last night, probably heard me talking about Joel Quenneville, who's the host of one of our podcasts, the Bike Shed. He has a rule of thumb that he likes to keep his commits under 100 lines. And it kind of makes you identify things like this, where it's like, is this related? Is this actually part of the change I'm trying to make here?
Right.
And it is, but not directly. And it's something that you can do separately, which I think is the key thing. Like if I can create a pull request that runs in parallel to this. It tells a clearer story to who I might be reviewing it, but it's a separate unit of work. It doesn't depend. One thing doesn't. It kind of doesn't depend on the other. So I'd be tempted to release that first. The thing you said about code review is interesting because I have a spicy take that if you pair on something, you don't need to code review it. And I'm going to leave that one hanging in the air to see if that gets something going in the chat while we extract this into another pull request. So we've got 13 minutes left. So, I'm going to say we've got 8 minutes left and then we'll start wrapping up. But so I don't know, in that time, do you want to check out main and create a new branch?
Let's do it. Git branch, git switch main. Okay. Do I want to stash? Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Main. Why not? And
why not?
Okay. And now we want to do a separate branch that will take care of the migrations. So I guess refactor migrations.
I like that. I go for that.
Yeah.
So we're using an alias I've got called create branch. That's part of the thoughtbot.files. And what that does is it creates the branch locally, but also creates it on the server at the same time as well, just to kind of save that overhead later, because you're always like, oh, I forgot to track it or I forgot to push it and things like that. So it just kind of makes things easier. So now what you can do is if you do git checkout and then space dash dash, git checkout, and then what was the name of our branch? Make, and then tab completed. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah. Then do dash dash, and then space. Before you press then do db/migrate. What this will do is it will tell Git to check out from make auto migrate, and then dash dash says the next bit's going to be files. So it says check out these files from make auto migrate. So if you press enter now and do git status, it's just got those files from and they're already in a staged state. So what we need to do now, and maybe we shouldn't have done that actually, because we want to change all those 5 ones to 4 twos.
Right.
let me just have a, right, okay. So what we want to do instead is, if we do grep, no, we didn't want to. So what we didn't want to do what we just did. So can we go back to a clean slate because we want to change it to, yeah.
So
because there might be some. Sorry.
Restore dot.
You might need to do restore staged.
Agreed.
Dot.
Yes. Get restore staged.
You can just do G if you want to do G over and get status for you. There, yeah, there you
go. Okay. And get diff.
Let's just check this out. Let's restore it to
restore.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. And then we want to run the migrate and make it 5 4.2s instead of 5.1s.
We said 4.2, didn't we? I think 4.2 is the lowest it goes. So let's do 4.2.
Okay.
I'll let you have this.
Status.
Yeah.
Diff. Okay, looks good. Shall I add everything or shall we patch? I'll add patch. Why not?
Okay.
4.2, 4.2, 4.2, 4.2, 4.2, 4.2, 4.2, 4.2, 4.2, 4.2. 4.2, 4.2.
I want to check something before we actually do this because I've just had a thought. So
go ahead.
Let's just have a look at this combat. So version is an optional. So you could just pass it with square brackets, right? Or not pass a version because that's no. Yeah, you could just pass that. So if we look at compatibility.find, so if we go to compatibility, why do you not? So if I do show on GitHub, is this the right version? Where am I? Show me in the browser. Open page. Okay. I just want to make sure that this is for the current version of.
Is that going to be main at the moment, or is that?
No, this is for 7, I think it is. But what
7.2?
7. I don't know what version of it. I think it was for 7.1, or it might be 7.2 because it's got. But I'm guessing that not much has changed. So the compatibility.find method, which is which there's no document. So it says find version, and then it converts it to some string. It says unknown. So it looks to see if that exists, and if it doesn't, it throws a thingamabob.
Okay.
So constants.grep. So I wonder what constants is. So you have all these different classes. Let me see what this is. The file exists to ensure that all migrations run the same way they did before a Rails upgrade. For example, if you write a migration on Rails 6.1 and upgrade to Rails 7, the migration should do the same thing to your database as it did when running Rails 6.1. Okay. Yes. Current is an alias for active record migration. It represents the current Rails version. New migration functionality. There are classes for each prior Rails version. Each class descends from the next Rails version. So 5.2, okay. If you're introducing new migration functionality, it should only apply for Rails 7 onwards, and you should define the class that immediately precedes it, 6.1. Okay, for example, Rails 6 added a default value for the precision option on database column. So in this file, the v52 class sets the value of precision to nil if it's not. This way, the default value. Okay. I'm not sure 100% follow, but this might be where we leave it for today, which is interesting. I'm just going to see if there's other constants in here. Got V61. Because I want to see if there's like a pre-V52. We've got V51, we've got V50, V42, which is what we saw.
Yes. So 42 seems to be the earliest.
That inherits from 5.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the refers in here. Sorry, scrolling super fast now, probably just because of time. I want to wrap up in a second. It says constants. Now, constants must be just a Ruby thing, I guess. It's looking for constants at that level. That's interesting. Ruby constants. Module.constants. Yeah, so that finds all the constants defined in that module. So it finds like V. Okay, cool. So it's saying it has to be, we have to have V42 is the right one. So that's fine. I wanted to see if we could do something where if we didn't pass anything,
it would know
fall over.
The right thing to, okay, right.
Yeah. So I think we need to set it to 42. So we've done the right thing.
Okay.
But maybe that's something for the future because Sulamesi, we're running out of time, or we have run out of time. So that leaves us at a cliffhanger because usually when I pair with Sulamesi, we start off with I go previously on Lost, and we recap what we did last time. But we forgot to do that because we didn't do anything previously. So this time I'm going to do next time on Lost. Figure out how to get this to work the way we want to. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Thank you for the people who've contributed in the chat. Thank you for people who've just been lurking. Thank you for the people who have just had it on in the background. Thank you for being here. Sulamesi, where can we find you on the internet? I'm
on LinkedIn and Twitter. X, I don't know. X is just not catching on. But I'm at Sulamesi on Twitter/X.
Nice. Could you want to, on the chat, do you want to just throw in some links for me, Sulamesi?
I'm not logged into YouTube, but let me see if I can
if you go into StreamYard, where the chat is, anything you put in there will go in.
Got it. Let me try.
So I'll put mine in. You can mostly find me on Mastodon on the ruby.social instance. Please come join us it's a lovely place. And I'll share mine. Thank you everybody for coming along again, and we look forward to seeing you next time at some point in the future. So everybody wants to, so goodbye. Bye. Wave goodbye, Sulamesi. Bye. Waving. Bye.